looking at her biography, about which I will speak more in a moment. But she is a Tejana. She grew up down in Tejas, which is a Spanish word that is connected to indigenous languages there. And I'll say more than that. It made me think about the people who lived in Tejas long before Anglos, long before the Spanish got there. And I thought of the Tewa Indians who lived along the Rio Grande all the way up to Albuquerque, because there's a passage in our hymn book that comes from them. And I thought it would be useful as a way to start. It's a prayer from the Tewa Indians. O our Mother the Earth, O our Father the Sky, your children are we, and with tired backs we bring you the gifts you love. Who has a tired back today? Then weave for us a garment of brightness. May the warp be the white light of morning. May the weft be the red light of evening. May the fringes be the falling rain. May the border be the standing rainbow. Then weave for us a garment of brightness, that we may walk fittingly where birds sing, that we may walk fittingly where the grass is green. O our Mother the Earth, O our Father the Sky. Whether those are your words or not, if you're here in church today, it's because you want that. You've brought the gift of your tired back and wish to walk out clothed in a garment of brightness. To walk where the birds sing, where the grass is green, to have your soul restored, to have your hope renewed. Welcome, it says. Welcome to Fountain Street Church, a center of liberal religion in Grand Rapids for a really long time, almost 150 years. So long ago that people didn't even know how to spell liberal then. But we are such a place, and by a liberal church we mean a place where your mind is free to think about anything without anyone telling you to stop thinking about that. A place where you can explore with your spirit corners that others may not know exist. A place where we believe faith lived cannot help but to change the world for the better. My name is Fred Wooden. I'm one of the clergy who serve here, and it's a pleasure to see all of you, all the colors that you bring in the room, and to welcome especially our guest speaker and her friends. In a moment, we'll be hearing the words of Cesar Chavez, as led by Gemma Lo. Is that correct? That's wonderful. She introduced herself earlier. And we'll be listening to the beautiful music of Rick Muniz. We're going to have an abundant Sunday. But I want to point especially to our wonderful gift, Lupe, Guadalupe. Correct? Guadalupe. As in La Virgen de Guadalupe. By the name, with apologies to all, especially to you, it is Ramos-Montigny, not Ramon. We who do not speak Spanish have much to be attentive to. It is Ramos-Montigny, who, as I pointed out, is not a fellow Tejano. As you're a Tejana, as my son is a Tejano. My son's birthday is today, and he was born in Austin. You were born in Westlaco? Westlaco, which is way down by the Rio Grande del Norte, real close to Brownsville. So it's a love to have you bringing that continental quality into our pulpit today. You can read all about her today in your segment here. Also, things going on in the church can be noted right here. I will not take up any more time because I think we would love to share these words by Cesar Chavez. With love.
Buenos días. Good morning. If you please will stand up for this piece. And as we read, think about the migrant workers and the people working in the fields. I was there Friday, and it was raining, and they were working on the rain. So I'll repeat the first sentence, and then you answer. Show me the suffering of the most miserable.
So I will know my people's plight.
Free me to pray for others.
For you are present in every person.
Help me take responsibility for my own life.
so that I can be free at last.
Grant me courage to serve my brethren.
For in service there is true life,
Give me honesty and patience.
so that we can work with other workers,
Bring forth song and celebration.
so that the Spirit will be alive among us.
Let the Spirit flourish and grow.
So that we will never tire of the struggle.
Let us remember those who have died for justice.
For they have given us life,
Help us love even those who hate us.
so we can change the world.
Thank you so much.
This will be a continuation of hymn 305, but the last verse in Spanish. So if you want to sing along, you can. De colores se vistan los campos en la primavera. De colores son los pajarillos que vienen de fuera. De colores es el arco iris que vemos lucir. Y por eso los grandes amores de muchos colores me gustan a mí. Y por eso los grandes amores de muchos colores me gustan a mí. Canto el gallo con el kirikiri, kiri, kiri, kiri. La gallina con el cara, 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 cara. Los polluelos con el pío, 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 pío. Y por eso los grandes amores de muchos colores me gustan a mí. Y por eso los grandes amores de muchos colores me gustan a mí.
So did I hear roosters and chickens in there? When kitty kitty and so it's a song not just about humans, it's about animals too.
They come in all colors too.
Amen to that, brother. And that's an important reality. We tend to think in this room that we are all that matters. Whether it's just us chickens in this room, or just us people, or we Americans, or we Grand Rapidians. But as that song reminded us, we are ever surrounded by life we do not notice. There's a little bug in my sink today, and I'm afraid that by the time I saw it, it was going down the drain. And I felt a little bad for it because it didn't do anything to deserve extinction. When you think about it, I want you to ponder for just a moment as we enter a time of prayer and silence how cheap life is the way we often treat it. Not just human lives, but animal lives. We tend to revere certain things more than others. We love our families, we love our communities, we love our nation, we might even love our pets. And well, we should. But why do we stop there? Why do we create these borders that say, this I can love and that I need not? This I hold dear and that I don't care. What a challenge that is for us. I want you to ponder that in a time of prayer. I want you to ponder that reality that somehow we are making choices every day that, like it or not, depreciate the life of those we do not know. I speak not politically here, although you are free to interpret it thus. But my sense here is that we all too often let other lives slip beyond the horizon of our care, whether they be non-human or simply not quite as human as we would prefer them to be, meaning those who come in different colors, different amounts of wealth, different languages, and different religions. They're not quite as important. I want you to ponder that. And then we can pray. Holy One, Ancient of Days, Hashem, the one whose name cannot be said, but whose being cannot be denied, for it is in every breath we take, falls like rain from the sky, that it is the sweat upon our brow when the sun is hot, and the shivering in our limbs when the sky is gray and cold. We would, in the safety of this room, in fact, disconnected from the life that is growing plants and birds and trees, bring through our hearts their presence into our world right now. We would esteem those who are not present beside us in seats, those who are sitting on benches or sleeping in doorways, those who are confined to homes because they cannot walk, those who cannot be here because they are imprisoned by poverty or pain or rejection. In praying thus, Ancient One, we are not relieved of our duty, but are prompted to be ever more mindful of it. And our prayer today is not to be serene and not to be forgiven of our pains, but to feel them more keenly, and to be found and to find within that pain the hope that we can relieve it. For there is no greater gift we have than to be of service to others. We will derive no greater meaning from our lives than if we lift the fallen, give sight to the blind, feed the hungry, give justice to the oppressed, release the prisoners, protect those in danger. So let us leave this room later more alert to the great duty before us, that we may live out truly our calling to be ministers to all we meet. Upon this and these, and also to those troubles we all know in our own lives, we give ourselves reverently into the place that is best framed by silence. And so may it be. Amen and amen. What good is it, my brothers and sisters, says the Apostle James, if you say you have faith but do not have works? Can faith save you? If a brother or a sister is naked and lacks food, and one of you says, "Go in peace, keep warm and eat your fill," and yet you do not supply the warmth and of their bodily needs, what good is it to say that? Faith by itself, if it has no works, is dead. Show me your faith apart from your works, and I by my works will show you my faith.
Buenos días. You may encounter many defeats, but you must not be defeated. In fact, it may be necessary to encounter the defeats so you can know who you are, what you can rise from, how you can still come out of it. Maya Angelou. Making your mark on the world is hard. If it were easy, everyone would do it. but it's not. It takes patience. It takes commitment. And it comes with plenty of failure along the way. The real test is not whether you avoid this failure, because you won't. It's whether you let it harden or shame you into inaction, or whether you learn from it, whether you choose to persevere. President Barack Obama. If you cannot fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. Martin Luther King, Jr. We draw strength from every despair in which we have been forced to live. We shall endure. Cesar Estrada Chavez. We want each of you to know this same diligence to the very end, so that what you hope for may be fully realized. Hebrews chapter 6, verse 11.
As someone else said long ago, those with ears may they hear, and those with eyes may they see the wisdom of those words.
Life is a gift. Now, I want everybody, I taught for 36 and a half years. So you're going to be my students today. Now, I want you to let us clap our hands and praise the Lord for this beautiful summer day that we are all able to enjoy this morning. Come on, everybody, let's clap our hands. Now, I want you to look to the right, and I want you to look to the left, and I want you now to greet the person on the right and the left and get to know who you're sitting by. I love it. I love it. Everybody now feels like you have new friends if you didn't have new these friends before. Can everybody hear me? That's what we used to use in the classroom. Can everybody hear me now? Thank you. Buenos dias again. Buenos dias. It's a beautiful day. And it is indeed an honor to be in front of this wonderful congregation in this beautiful historical building known as Fountain Street Church. Let me tell you a little story. On May 11th, 2013, I was honored by Ferris State University with an honorary doctorate on public service. And on the way to the graduation ceremony, I asked President Eisler, "Who is the commencement speaker?" And he looked at me and he said, "You are." My experience accepting to speak at Fountain Street Church this morning turned out to be similar to that experience. When I was being asked, what hymns would you like to sing? What scriptures? What music? I was not ready for that. But today I am glad to say that I am standing before you as your special guest, and I'm supposed to deliver the sermon, just like I was supposed to deliver the commencement address. I would like to thank my friend Carol Koistra and the lead pastor Fred Wooden and your executive director, Jack Waller, for the opportunity. Now, this opportunity was meant to be. The late Dr. Bill Koistra was my psychologist when I was going through very challenging times in my life. And now my circle of life has connected with Carol. All is good. So my name is Lupe Ramos-Montigny, and as Pastor Wooden said, it's really Guadalupe. Excuse me, and I was named after Virgin Guadalupe. And because her birthday is on December 12th, and my birthday is December 12th. And when you were born on December 12th, you automatically got that name at that time. 4 years after my birth, my brother was born December 12th. So his middle name is Guadalupe. Now, if you look at the program, I have to drink water. If you look at the program, you see my name. I use Lupe, the last 4 letters, because as a young child, it was too long. So I personally reduced it to Lupe. If you look at my name, Lupe and Ramos are Spanish names. Montigny is a French name. I am often asked, where are you from? And I'll say, well, I'm from Grand Rapids, Michigan. And then they'll say, no, where are you from? So I said, oh, okay, I'm from Westlaco, Texas. And the questions keep coming. And so I said, okay, I am an American of Mexican descent. That's what they want to know, because I'm brown, because I'm different maybe than they are. They want to know where are my roots. Well, my mother and my father were both born in Mexico. So I'm Mexican. And I earned my bachelor's degree from Pan American University in Edinburgh, Texas. And those little towns are in the southernmost part of the state of Texas, close to Brownsville, and like 10 miles from the border. And I am a proud alum of Grand Valley State University. In fact, President Lover signed my diploma. So there's another quote a quote that I read to you that ties to this part of my life. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then what? Walk. If you can't walk, then but whatever you do, you have to keep on moving forward. Who said that? Martin Luther King. So I live in Grand Rapids Township, and I have lived in the same house for 35 years. I raised my two children, Irma and Gerard. But not all the years were happy years in this comfortable house in Grand Rapids Township. Because in this house, my children and I and their father went through a divorce. And at that time, my house was not it rocked the world for us. But fortunately, I am happy to say that all of us moved on, and we're all doing well. There's a quote by Bob Marley that says, "You never know how strong you are until being strong is the only choice you have." So I had 2 children, and I had to move on. My son Gerard and my daughter-in-law Jen have blessed me with a beautiful, talented, but very stubborn granddaughter, Amelia Rose. And come the first week of November, my daughter Irma and my son-in-law Jess are going to bless me with another grandchild. So I was born in Westlaco, Texas. Westlaco, don't call it anything else because they'll be mad. Westlaco, Texas, and it's about 10 miles from the border of Mexico. So everything in my house and in my town happened in Spanish. I didn't learn how to speak English until I was 6 years old. And many asked me, especially during the winter, what are you doing here? You know, why aren't you in Texas? Well, as a young girl, my family traveled to this beautiful state to harvest beets in Caseville, Michigan. And then we would go to Old Mission Peninsula and we would pick cherries. And then we would travel to Indiana and we would pick tomatoes. So my parents, Isidro and Maria, made this journey with 6 of the girls and 1 of the sons. And we did this, we were 9 children. So I think my father did this to supplant the money for our life necessities at that time. Because my father was a businessman. He ran a garage, he was a mechanic, and he ran a Texaco filling station, but 9 children, so there had to be some way to supplant the income that was coming in the home. We never missed school. We would just come for the 3 months and we go back to school. This experience taught me the value of sustained effort, the importance of an education, and the need to advocate for minorities, especially my group, the Hispanic group. About 10 years later, as a senior student at Pan American University, migrant education recruiters from this state came to our university to recruit bilingual teachers. And in my mind, Michigan was the old Mission Peninsula. How many of you have been there? It's beautiful, right? So we stopped coming. So in my mind, Michigan was old Mission Peninsula. And so I always wanted to return. So my senior year, my opportunity came. And I came back to the state and I taught the children of the farm workers that I had been 10 years before. So that's how my career started here in the state of Michigan. Now, a quote by Cesar Chavez: once social change begins, it cannot be reversed. And it's in your program. You cannot uneducate the person who has learned to read. You cannot humiliate the person who feels pride. You cannot oppress the people who are not afraid anymore. We have seen the future, and the future is ours. Cesar Estrada Chavez. So at that point of my life, working with the children of the children of the farm workers gave me that spirit. My father worked very hard, as I said, as a mechanic, and my mother was a stay-at-home mom. After all, she had 9 children. His work site was across the highway from our house. So often Mexican immigrants would stop at my father's place of business and ask for food and ask for shelter. So my father would come to the house, which was closed, and he would get a stack of tortillas, rice, beans, blankets, and he would take them to the garage and make his new friends happy. Did he make my mother happy? No. She had to start rolling more tortillas. I don't know how familiar you are with our tortillas. We have two kinds. We have the corn tortillas and we have the flour tortillas. In my family, we ate the flour tortillas that you had to roll. And so my mother was always making tortillas, and it wasn't a little package like that. It was a stack like this. So early on, I was taught by my parents that the little we had to sacrifice and share. And so that's a lesson that if you go to my house, I want to give you everything. If you go to my sister's homes, we want to give you everything. Because for whatever reason, I always had the love, I always had shelter, I always had food. So if we were poor, I didn't know it. I was happy. I had everything I needed. But this story reminds me of the miracle of the manna, where the miraculous bread from heaven that saved the Israelites from starvation, and then later Jesus repeated the miracle of manna in the feeding of the 5,000. Things in my home just multiplied. And I think you find that in your life when we share and we give and we sacrifice, our blessings are multiplied and we even have more. My parents, despite their limited education, helped educate the family of 9 by borrowing money from the local bank. And to supplement what we needed, all of us had to have a part-time job. Mine was, I felt really important when I was going to the college, to the university, because I served food to all the athletes in the cafeteria. So in the evening, Lupe served food to the athletes in the cafeteria. So that's how I made my extra money. So in my family was able to produce with a lot. I cannot imagine my dad being a mechanic. I don't think it was a lot of money that he made, but he was able to help us produce a pastor. We have a pastor in our home. We had an attorney, immigration attorney at that, 2 nurses, 2 educators, I was one of them, a legal secretary, 1 salesperson, and 1 that turned out like my dad, an auto mechanic. So my father and my mother were resilient, they were strong, and they were determined. So the quote by President John F. Kennedy, "Do not pray for easy lives, pray to be strong people." The last 17 years here in Grand Rapids, the committee to honor Cesar Chavez has been done by many significant ways. And there's some members of the committee in the audience. So will you please stand like real fast? And Jack? And Eric is in the back. Now, the Grand Rapids Area Committee to honor Cesar Chavez is a community-run organization dedicated to providing community engagement and educational activities to raise awareness to the social justice legacy of Cesar Estrada Chavez. Is it going to work? I had a PowerPoint, but you're doing so well. I think I'm doing so well, I have you captivated. The committee hosts 3 community-wide events. How many of you have attended our events? Anybody in the room? Great. And there we engage a broad diversity of people in educational and awareness activities, as well as we provide students with scholarships. And we try to give them that opportunity of leadership and learning opportunities. So we cultivate that si se puede spirit, that they can be anything in the world. If the Ramos family could do it, anybody can do it. So we're real proud of the work that we do, and I have to say that on October the 19th, did you write that in your brain over here? October the 19th, we have our gala where we give the scholarships, and we also give tribute to people that are role models and are living the legacy of Cesar Chavez by doing social justice and engaging people, helping people in their lives. So on October the 19th, we will be doing that. Where? We will do it at Grand Valley State University Eberhardt Center. You will get more information. I will make sure of that. Cesar Chavez said, "We cannot seek achievement for ourselves and forget about progress and prosperity for our community. Our ambitions must be broad enough to include the aspirations and needs of others for their sakes and for our own." The scholarships are designated for students that come from farm working families and also to DACA students. The DACA, how many of you know what a DACA student is? Good. Those are the children that were brought by their parents when they were young into the country, and so President Obama gave them the DACA designation and some privileges. Of course, there's money involved, and many people say, well, how come they don't become American citizens? There's a lot of money involved, and this year they upped the fees, so it's very difficult for many families. Either we eat or we become American citizens, and so many don't, they rather eat because they don't have the means to become American citizens. Now the DACA students, they're young people, and they have to come up with the money. Many of them are going to school. They graduated from high school and the universities too. And so that's a very, very important part. Okay, so let me see. I want to tell you a little bit of Cesar Chavez, because Cesar demonstrated, and I'm going to get emotional, maybe I'll cry, I hope not, but Cesar's life is full of compassion. He strongly believed that social justice was should be part of every being in the world. And so Cesar fasted, and he fasted different times. Let me look at here. He fasted in 1968 for 25 days, and it was a spiritual fast, very humbling experience. And he wanted to affirm his personal commitment and that of the farm labor movement to nonviolence. And then again, he fasted for 25 days in 1972. And in 1988, at the age of 61, he endured a fast of 36 days, fast for life, to highlight, listen to this, to highlight the harmful impact of pesticides on farm workers and their children, and ultimately to the consumers. So he helped all of us by making that mark in history. Now, something very significant would happen in his fasts. Senator Robert Kennedy, the late Senator Robert Kennedy, would come and be with Cesar to break the fast, the 3 times. Now, the last time that Cesar fasted and got out of the fast was on February 26, 1968. If you remember history, Senator Kennedy was killed June 5th, 1968. So it was a few months after. And you know he was campaigning for the presidency, and he was killed in California. So our Cesar passed away on April 23rd, 1993, and the doctors attributed to his death to the fasting and how it can harm your body. And so Cesar died in a small town close to where he had been born 66 years before. So 5 years after the last fast, he passed away. Something very significant and exciting for us Michiganders in the West Side is that he came to Grand Valley State University to visit us here in this area. He passed away in April, so he had come the month before. So this was one of his last pilgrimages, if you might call it that, before he passed away. And this family, the Martinez family, had made him a quilt that they gave him this last time that he came. And when they found him in his bed, I think he died during the night, he was covered with that blanket that the Martinez family from Grand Rapids had made for Cesar. There were about 50,000 people that attended his funeral. So he planted his seed for social justice, and that's why we celebrate his legacy through the Committee to Honor Cesar Chavez, and we give that seed of social justice called education to as many students as we can. I have been involved in politics for many years. How many of you have worked with me in politics throughout the years? Many of you have. Because if we're not sitting at the table, somebody else is going to make all the decisions for us. And so I many times I am the only Hispana in the room, but you know, the agenda has to move forward. There has to be a voice at the table. So I take the charge. And again, I'm going to refer to the late Dr. Bill Koistra, because he nominated me when I ran for Kent County Democratic Party, and we won. And I served. And he was right there with me. I remember I asked him if he would be in one of the committees, and of course he was. And being a teacher, I always had something to give my committees. So, oh, Lupe, you gave me this. And you know, so he was real supportive, very supportive. Now, on November 6, 2012, where President Obama was at the top of the ticket, I was able to be elected to the State Board of Education. So now I serve you on the State Board of Education. It's a commitment of 8 years. I'm on my 4th year, so I still have 4 more years to go. Now, I want to tell you that that is all social justice work. The State Board of Education does not get paid to serve. We're not like the governor and the legislators and all that. But I got almost 2 million votes of confidence. So I worked as a teacher and a principal, a director, you name it, I did it in 36 and a half years. And so I feel a strong commitment to that door of opportunity named education, and so I continue serving until I can't anymore. Now, involvement in politics requires one to be strong as a rock, is the title of my messages today. Now, presently, my community is being rattled with separation of families, violating their dignity, their respect, not protecting them. So if you listen to the news, how many of you are glued to the TV these days? Or the news, your radio or your phone. So last Wednesday, the president proposed legislation that would create a merit-based immigration system. So preference would go to the high-skilled workers, require that they know how to speak English before entering the country. How many of your relatives knew how to speak English when they came to this country? None of us would be sitting here, right? And they can financially support themselves. In analyzing the requirements, I'm here to tell you, working in the fields require high skills. First skill is that you have to endure days of 10 hours. 10 hours working in the beating sun, and as Gemma said, working in the rain or whatever weather it is. Isn't that a skill? So high level skilled people. And I also am here to tell you that there's 3 million plus farm workers that are undocumented. So who's going to harvest the crop? Who's going to put food at our tables? Who's going, if the crop doesn't get picked, are the farmers going to be profitable? In Georgia and in, what was the other state? I'm going to say like 3-4 years ago, they decided that, well, the workers were very scared because there were raids happening. And so they stayed home and they wouldn't go harvest a crop. And so then they said, oh, that's okay, we're going to get local people to come and harvest the crop. And yes, they did it for a few hours. And they decided, no, this is not the kind of work I want to do. Then they said, that's okay, we're going to get the prisoners to come and pick the crop. Guess what? The crop rotted in the fields. And the farmers lost a lot of money. Another thing that we have to look at, that the economy, the impact that they make in our economy is tremendous. So let's see what happens. Hopefully it doesn't go anywhere. Hopefully the House and the Senate have more sense than what the president has. Now, Anne Frank said, the weak fall, but the strong will remain and never go under. So that's the farm workers and all the immigrants. Now, strong as a rock. I had a picture of, well, you picture it. I had a picture of Jesus sitting on the mountainside, delivering the sermon on the mount. And he had his disciples around him, and there was a crowd around him. And if you don't read any part of the Bible, go to the Sermon on the Mount, and it teaches you many, many different things. Last week, President Lubbers referred to the Sermon on the Mount, and he talked about judge not, that you be judged. Do you remember that, if you were here? Okay, well, I'm going to go to another story in the Sermon on the Mount, where Jesus is teaching us a lesson very much pertaining to strong as a rock. And it said, and the name of it is The Wise and the Foolish Builders. How many know that story? All hands should be up. Pretend. Okay, therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house. Yet it did not fall, because it had its foundation on the... But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash. So, in closing, I am a teacher. I will always be a teacher. 36 and a half years I spent in a classroom or a school. I had something to do with schools, with our children, with our students. So I want you to know that I brought a pile of rocks. I brought a pile of rocks, and I want to share those rocks with you. Where is... Play something. Rick, come and play the guitar. Okay, now, we teachers believe in teaching everything using the 5 senses. So that's why I brought a rock for you. So I want you to look at the rocks. They will all be different shapes. They will all be different colors. They will be different weights. They will be all various sizes, but they're all rocks. So please, how many have taken one? What does it say? Strong. And I hope that my message has helped you as you move forward, as you go in your journey from this day forward. Let's be the wise man that built his house on the rock. Muchas gracias.
Peace I leave with you, my friend. Shalom, my peace in all you do. Peace I leave with you, my friend. is why I came to show God's kindness to the world. Go, my friends, and do the same till I come again. A peace I live with you, my friends. Shalom, my peace and all you do. Peace I live with you, my friends. I give to you so you can give others too. Now take my hand and be set free. With this love you will be free. Spirit of our love I send till I come again. In peace I live, you my friends. Shalom, my peace in all you do. Peace I live with you, my friend. I give to you so you can give to others.